Another edition of the Hispanic Patriot, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location deep behind enemy lines in Denver, Colorado. Here we speak the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. And now, without further ado, here's our host of the Hispanic Patriot, Hugo Chavez Ray. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Hispanic Patriot. We have a good lineup tonight. We're going to be talking about some important topics. Hope everyone is doing well out there with the heat and whatever else is bothering you in your neck of the woods. I wanted to just kind of give you a brief update about what this show is about. We have some goals in mind for this show, and we want to make sure that everyone is on board. But as I always say, I want your feedback. I want people to write into us on our contact form on the website and tell us what it is you want to hear about. Give us your comments. We're big boys here, so we want your critique. Be nice, be polite, but we will listen to what you have to say because you're the audience. So here on the Hispanic Patriot, we want to deliver truthful news and opinions and commentary. Whatever it may be, we strive to tell the truth no matter where the chips may fall. We want a message to the Hispanic voters out there, and in an effort to counter the false narratives that are coming from the left-wing media. We want to have an honest discussion with our audience about the issues and through the feedback form on our website. So don't be bashful. Write in, tell us what you think, and we hope you like what you hear. The first item today that we want to talk about is a federal injunction here in Colorado about the topic of the unconstitutional age limit on the purchasing of firearms here in Colorado. The legislature here took it upon themselves in this past session to pass a law which the incumbent governor then signed promptly. And what it did is basically blocked 18-year-olds from buying firearms and changed the law to 21. So the law was passed by a very radical Democrat-led legislature, of course, and was signed into law, as I mentioned, by Governor Polis, despite warnings from the RMGO, that's the Rocky Mountain Gun Owners Association, that the law would not pass constitutional challenges. And, of course, immediately on the day that it was going to take effect, a federal judge here in Colorado named Judge Philip Brimmer blocked the unconstitutional law that raised the age to purchase a firearm from 18 to 21. Now, that was expected because it is unconstitutional. But this injunction is temporary, of course, but I firmly believe that the law will be struck down for constitutional reasons. So that's one of the closest news items that we have here, and we look forward to having the director of the RMGO here on the show in the next couple of weeks to talk about the intricacies of the law, why it's unconstitutional, and why it deserves to be struck down. Second item on our agenda tonight is basically a sad case in Maui, Hawaii, where wildfires are raging and a lot of people are being displaced from their homes. And I've never been to Maui, but I understand it's a beautiful place. And my heart breaks for the families that are affected. They're in our thoughts and prayers, and we hope that they will be made whole as soon as possible. But let's keep them in our prayers. We hope that the fires are contained as soon as possible, and hopefully that the damage will be maintained to a minimum. The hurricane that was passing through helped fuel the fire, and we know that the the devastation is far and wide right now. So a lot of people being displaced moved to the other islands, and we just hope that the families and those who have perished. My understanding is that about 35 people have perished, making it one of the deadliest wildfires in U.S. history in recent times. So please keep those folks in Hawaii and Maui in your prayers, and hopefully they will be back to their homes as soon as possible. Another item on the agenda tonight is an assassination that took place in Ecuador in South America, where one of the presidential candidates, his name is Guillermo Lasso, was assassinated by organized crime factions in that country. The country has been under attack for quite some time. Guillermo Lasso was a presidential candidate coming up for the election that is on August the 20th. And he had pledged to clean up the corruption and the crime. And for that, he was targeted and assassinated a couple of days ago. He had planned to crack down on the drug cartels and other organized crime activity in the country. Um, it's a sad state of affairs in some of these countries in South America and Central America. We know that they are under tremendous pressure from these rogue cartels, and they didn't even hesitate to take credit for the assassination. It's a group known as the Wolves, Los Lobos, and it's one of Ecuador's largest gangs. And they took responsibility in an effort to send a message to anyone who would stand against gangs, drug dealers, and organized crime. So the country has decided to move forward with their elections on August the 20th, and we hope that no further violence takes place between now and that election. And we hope that the people of Ecuador, get to cast their ballots and have an honest and fair election. The the country is not I wouldn't consider them a third world nation, but they are one of the more advanced nations in South America, and we're praying for them to be able to withstand the pressure that's coming from these people whose goal is to basically move drugs, human traffic, and among other things that they're doing down there. So let's keep them in our prayers and thoughts, and we hope that they're able to overcome this corruption and change their country to where it needs to be. As you know, we're going through our own turmoil here in this country with the radical Democrats at every turn. They're they're changing our our values. They're changing the way we do business in this country, and we have an election of our own coming up next year. So we hope that we're able to turn things around here, and we're praying for those who are running for office. We applaud them for their courage. Um, at the top of that list, of course, is President Trump, who is severely under attack by rogue, and I do mean rogue, prosecutors, both federal and state. He's been indicted 3 times, and my understanding is that there's a fourth coming from Georgia, from a very corrupt DA in Fulton County. So uh, the Fulton County, Georgia DA is currently whining about false and derogatory claims by President Trump in an ad campaign that is set to hit the airwaves here in the next few days. She is being exposed as the latest in a long line of Biden lackeys as she prepares to become the latest to issue a bogus indictment against President Trump for election interference in the 2020 election. Folks, we ourselves are on our way to becoming a banana republic. Everything that is taking place today is banana republic style government. And I use the word government with a lot of quotations because I don't think we have a government right now. We have a regime that is hell bent on changing this country into something it was never intended to be, and so we're on the front lines fighting against these uh, Marxist Democrats, whatever you want to call them. They are not our friends. The average American understands what is at stake. We hope those of you that may not be quite paying attention to what's going on will take the time to get informed. Don't take my word for it. Don't take CNN's word for it, MSNBC, or any of the other networks that are dishonest and protecting this administration against evidence that any other person would have already been jailed for. So be aware of what's going on. Stay informed. Fight back. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your family, your coworkers. We have got to get this thing turned around, or we're in for a long, long haul of despot government here in this country. And we know that if you don't stay informed, then you can't fight back. So please take the time, get informed, and make your own determination about what's going on. Don't take the word of some newscaster, some anchor on one of those rogue networks that is going to feed you misinformation and outright lies. So I urge you, please take the time and make sure that what you're receiving as information is truthful and factual. Now, on a lighter note, we have uh, Mr. Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, who have been sparring over the airwaves in the last several weeks. And I can't remember which one has challenged the other, but they've come out with a situation where they're going to be possibly, and it's not 100% yet, but possibly involved in a cage match, which Mr. Musk has announced he will live stream on X. Now that would be quite the scenario. As you know, they're both billionaires, over 100 billion in net worth, and one outweighs the other by about 60 pounds. Musk over Zuckerberg. Now, what I hear is that Zuckerberg is trained in martial arts, so maybe that's uh, an equalizer, so to speak, for the weight differential. But in my experience, usually the guy or the person who has the weight advantage has the advantage. So it's going to be interesting to see uh, how that plays out and if it plays out, because there's, some people in their organizations are saying that this is all just a bunch of ballyhoo, and no real match is going to take place. It might be verbal, not physical, but for my money, I would like to see it. I think it would kind of be kind of fun. And if and who's your money on? I mean, if I had to bet on this thing, I think my money would be on Elon Musk because of the weight advantage. But you never know. These type of things can be fun. There's been things in the past where people have been challenged to sports uh, type of confrontations. I remember way back, and this is dating back into the '70s, where uh, one of the female tennis players at the time um, uh, was challenged by a man um, to a tennis match, and this Billie Jean King was the female tennis player, and I'm trying to recall the name of the male, uh, but it was a it was one of the Battle of the Sexes. That's what it was billed as, and Billie Jean King made quick work of the challenger, the male challenger, because Billie Jean King was quite a tennis player. So those kind of things come up, and they're fun to watch. I think that whoever comes out on top, it's going to be fun event. So if you're interested in such a thing, I hope that you'll be able to watch if it takes place. Now let's talk a bit about what's going on in America. We have been under, for the last 3 years now, almost. We have been under this regime, and the Biden administration has been uh, one that has been involved in a lot of different uh, activities with regards to corruption. This dates back to when he was vice president. Hunter Biden, as you know, his son is an addict, um, was involved in some very nefarious activities with regards to uh, activities with China, Russia, Ukraine. And it appears, from all the evidence, the Biden administration, Joe Biden himself, who continues to deny any involvement, um, is being exposed for what he is, and that's a very corrupt individual. We have evidence coming out almost every day now, and it's a mountain of evidence. It's not innuendos. It's not manufactured evidence, and I think he's going to have a hard time fighting these allegations off. Um, he lies constantly to the press. He denies having any involvement with his son's business arrangements, and yet there's a mountain of evidence pointing to the opposite. The fact that he's been involved, the fact that he met with some of these individuals. We had a testimony last week from one of Hunter's business partners who has come right out and said that Joe Biden was indeed involved in some of the meetings, was a part of this operation, and a lot of money has been funneled to the Biden family over the years. At last estimate from congressional records, apparently he has been um, he has been the recipient the Biden family has been the recipient of at least $20 million in payments, and there's no business involved because the Bidens have no business. Um, what it was is influence peddling, with Hunter being the lead man and what I would call the bag man. So these people at these corporations that were formed, there have been a lot of uh, LLCs and other type of individual businesses formed to receive these payments, and it appears that they've done quite well for themselves. Um, I'm sure you've been watching a lot of the news, but unless you're paying attention, the left wing media is totally covering up for Joe Biden, insinuating that he had nothing to do with these business transactions. And I say business transactions in quotations. So it's going to be interesting to see what this Republican led House can do. There's talk of articles of impeachment being filed, but first you have to have the investigation, and it looks like that's going to move forward. But if the Republicans that are in control of the House right now do not move forward with impeachment, I think that's going to leave a bad taste in the mouths of a lot of voters, because they impeached President Trump twice on zero evidence, and this guy has a mountain of evidence against him, and he's been involved in bribery and corruption, what they call uh, misdemeanors, high crimes and misdemeanors, bribery. These are all impeachable offenses. We have to have the rule of law in this country. Otherwise, we have no country. Right now, we have two tiers of justice. We have one that goes after President Trump, and the other one that refuses to go after Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. We cannot sustain our nation if our justice system is tiered like that. It's just not doable. And this is what happens in third world countries, in banana republics. You have people who jail their political opponents, people who control by force or by corruption. And if we don't get a hold of this and turn it around soon, I think people are going to look back and see that we should have had a better uh, a better grasp of the situation and not be so divided in politics. We have about 50% of the country on one side and the other 50% on the other, and but I feel like we have a lot of people that haven't spoken their voice yet, and who in this coming election are going to be more prone to doing the right thing. At least that's my hope. So we have to be vigilant. We have to stay informed, and we have to get our elected officials to act, because if we don't, we're going to be going down the tubes real quick. We have to have a situation where uh, some of these people that are in control are removed from office, and we get our justice system back. The law should apply to everyone equally across the board, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of financial situation, financial status. Um, Everyone should be treated equally under the law. And right now, that is not happening in this country. It's a crime what is happening to President Trump, and I hope that he prevails. I have a good feeling that he will, but you never know with some of the people that are in control. Um, we have we have a government that needs to be cleaned out. For example, I'm for term limits. I mean, at this point, we cannot afford to have people in Congress who are in Congress for 40, 50, some 60 years. Uh, we've got a senator that was wheeled around after having a medical emergency, Senator Dianne Feinstein from California. We hope she's doing well from a physical standpoint, but that woman should not be in our Senate. It just even some Democrats are already calling for her to resign. Um, I think Nancy Pelosi should be gone. Chuck Schumer. Uh, a lot of these people who are in their 70s, 80s, and have been there for decades, they just don't need to be there. We need to have a turnover in our Congress so that we don't have entrenched politicians who will take advantage of the system and enrich themselves. The founding fathers never intended for politicians to be in Congress for a lifetime. They set up a system where the citizen could go, serve for a time, then return home and let someone else take a turn and serve. That's the way our government is supposed to work. But as we know, it's not the way it works. We have a, lack of a better term, a cabal. And that's on both sides of the aisle, by the way. I'm not just talking about Democrats. I think we need to clean our Congress out. We need to have a regular turnover in people who are serving, and that will go a long way towards cleaning up the corruption and the cronyism that takes place in Congress. There should be a law when a congressman or a senator leaves office that they are not allowed to serve in any capacity with regards to lobbying or other things for a minimum of 5 years after they leave office. That would prevent them from going out and immediately start cashing in on their prior service. Um, we have, and this is going on at the state level as well. I mean, here in Colorado, the Democrats control the legislature. They have the governor's house. They have the state house and the state senate. Um, and we've seen the legislation that has come from a runaway one party system. We need more balance in our government. We need people that are more concerned about the rights and the benefits of the citizens they serve than the special interests and the people who are currently controlling the system. Uh, that's, I have grandchildren. I have a great grandson. My concern is for them because they are going to be the ones that suffer because of the policies that are currently being put in place. We need to clean the House. We need to clean the Senate. We need to get more citizens involved in voting. For example, in Colorado, we have 1.2 million Hispanic voters. About half of those, 600,000 plus, uh, are eligible to vote, meaning they're citizens. Um, they, in turn, are not voting in the numbers that they're entitled to. Only about half of those 600,000 are either registered to vote or vote with any regularity. That means there's a pool of Hispanic voters who are eligible that need to be reached. And that is one of my goals with this show, is to reach those Hispanic voters, to inform them, to meet them where they are. Hispanics are very much conservative by nature in the way they live their lives. They start businesses and thrive at a faster rate than any other demographic. Hispanics are the fastest growing demographic in this state and around the nation. And within another 15 to 20 years, they're going to be about a third of the electorate in this country. Hispanics are proud Americans. They're not here to take from the people, they're here to support our system. They're here to help the system become better and to take advantage of the opportunities this nation has always afforded any citizen that comes to this country. So we have a situation where Republicans are at a crossroads where we have a referendum that was thrust upon us, Proposition 108, that opened the primaries up for voters who are not members of either party to vote for those party candidates. Now, that law, I will say unequivocally here, it is unconstitutional. But the law has to be challenged, and the state party, the state Republican Party, has finally filed a lawsuit against uh, that unconstitutional mandate that prevents both parties from choosing their own candidates. Unaffiliated candidates are, by definition, unaffiliated. They chose to be unaffiliated. Nobody put a gun to their head and said, you need to become unaffiliated. No, they were, for whatever reason, not interested in being members of either party, and so they became unaffiliated. Then you have independents, people who, I guess, register as independents. I don't know if you want to call that a political party. I guess it could be, but it's not a viable one. Like it or not, we are a two-party system. Some people would like to see that change. Personally, I don't see that happening in my lifetime. But if it happens somewhere down the line, then so be it. It's a free country. If enough people want to do something and they have the support of enough people, it can be done. But right now, our choices are from the two major parties for candidates, a Republican or a Democrat. There's, I think, a couple of elected officials in Congress that are, quote, independent, but I question that. For example, Bernie Sanders claims he's an independent, but he's a far left wing loon, in my opinion. He's a Marxist at heart. He espouses communism and socialism, and unfortunately, he has garnered the ear of a lot of young people who are uninformed and uneducated about what he really wants to do. It sounds good. Yeah, let's get free health care for everybody. Well, nothing is free. Somebody has to pay for it somewhere. So when somebody says to you that they want to get you free this or free that, then ask them who's paying for it. As I always say, follow the money. That will tell you what is at stake and who is funding it, because nothing is free. But we have to change the system. We have to get this state turned around because it's going downhill really fast. We are becoming California redo. Uh, Jared Polis doesn't care about this state. What he cares about is his own political ambition. It's not a secret that he wants to run for president. He thinks that he can be the first gay president. Well, um, in the meantime, he's not serving the people of Colorado. He's serving himself. And he's signed into law some of the most radical bills that this state has ever seen. Among them, the late term abortion bill that allows babies to be murdered up until the date of the birth. That is sick. That's beyond sick. That's evil. So be aware of what's going on in the legislature. Be aware of how these laws and these edicts that come from this legislation that comes out of this state house affect your life. If you have a business, it's affecting your small business. Regulation is Overregulation is a problem. If you have a small business, which is the majority of the businesses in this country, you want the opportunity to prosper. You started the business, you took the risk for a reason. You didn't go into it to lose money or to fail. You went into it to take care of yourself, to make a profit, and hopefully grow it into a larger business. But at the same time, you have people who are voting against their own self-interest. And that's something I have a hard time wrapping my mind around. It's not a thing that I can understand when you have someone who will blindly vote for a party because of the letter as opposed to the policies. And I know from experience that Hispanics live a very conservative life. They're people of faith. They have strong family values, and they came here for freedom, opportunity, and that's what they want. The Hispanics I know are not looking for a handout or any kind of advantage. All they want is an evil and a level playing field where they can pursue whatever it is they want to pursue. They want the opportunity, and they want government to get out of the way. But like I said, the conundrum is a lot of these same people are voting for people who are creating legislation that kind of hinders that ability to reach those goals. So in this show, my hope is to uh, provide information that will help people become better informed voters and to reach those who are not voting and to encourage them to become voters so that their voice is also heard. I know it's an uphill climb. It's not going to happen overnight. We didn't get here overnight, but it is very doable. And I call on my fellow Republicans to take the reins, go out and make those connections with Hispanic voters, build relationships first. Don't go out 3 months prior to an election knocking on Hispanic families' doors and expect them to listen to you uh, and receive you with open arms, because nobody, regardless of the topic, trusts another person fully if they don't know them. If a stranger comes to your door and tells you X, Y, and Z, and you don't know them from Adam, are you going to be receptive to what they're telling you? Of course not. You're going to have some skepticism. You're not going to trust them. Maybe you'll receive them depending on if you like the person. We make judgments pretty quickly when we meet someone. A lot of times we're wrong because it's called judging the book by its cover. You got to get to know the person before you can have a relationship with them. And once you have a relationship, then you have a certain amount of trust built, and then you can talk about other topics such as politics or voting. But don't go in there trying to convince someone to vote a certain way if they don't know you. It's not going to work. Building relationships takes time. Building relationships is a process, and you have the opportunity every single day. You work with people at your place of work who may be Hispanic. Your children have sporting events. They go to school with your children. They're your neighbors. When's the last time you invited someone over for a barbecue or organized a block party and had uh, a party where you have a barbecue and you get to meet your neighbors? And that's the way it used to be, where people pretty much knew everybody on their block at least, and everybody took care of each other. It was a community. Nowadays, instead of that scenario, we have people who are in cliques. They they kind of segregate themselves either by race, by creed, by nationality, uh, by a variety of things. But America is the melting pot. We come here to assimilate. That's what my family did when I moved here. I was 7 years old when my parents moved to America. Legally, we came here. My mom told me right up front, we're here, we're grateful to be in America, and we're going to be Americans. We spoke Spanish at home for a while, but my mom always said we speak Spanish at home, but we speak English outside the house. I learned English through immersion. You know, I was here 6 months before I was pretty good at English. I had learned. There was no bilingual education when I came here. Uh, and I think bilingual education does a disservice to the children because children pick up a language at a much faster pace than adults. So don't do that to your children. If you're here, if you're new to America, you speak a different language, let your children learn by immersion. It's the best way to learn a language. But getting back to the point of creating those relationships, you have to build that relationship before you can ask someone for their vote or before you can talk to them about politics. Um, they are out there. They're open. One of the things that I've heard the most from the Hispanic citizens that I've spoken to directly is when I ask them about why they're voting Democrat when their values don't align with that. And what they tell me has always been resoundingly, we don't feel welcome in the Republican Party. That's a shame. That's a that's a situation that's untenable in my mind. That should never be. Our values align best with those Hispanic voters. There's no doubt in my mind. Okay, uh, the two parties are day and night. It used to be they were much closer. They there were people on both sides that there were more moderate, you might say, but that has changed in the last, at least in the last 2 decades, for sure. Um, we have a very wide gap between the two parties now. Now there are people that are in the middle for both parties, and those people have not been co-opted. But on the Democrat side, a lot of those people are still stubbornly voting Democrat just because it's their party. It used to be we would vote in America for what was best for the country, what was best for all citizens. Not completely. Yeah, there's always been that two-party system where the two parties fought against each other, but it goes down to values. It's what do you believe as a citizen? What do you believe as a parent, as a grandparent? You know, what values are important to you? And if you take the time to just study the two parties and their platforms, I have to believe that the majority of you out there would actually be Republican because that's what best aligns with the values of Americans. Um, the Democrat Party, I'm sorry, has been co-opted by Marxists. I mean, there's just no two ways around it. Uh, a lot of it is evil. A lot of it is self-serving, and and it doesn't align with what the average citizen uh, out there in America. The average citizen is out there busy raising their family, running a business perhaps, or working a career. They want the freedom, the opportunity. They want the government out of their way and out of their pockets, because, as we know, every time we turn around, they're out there with even more taxes and fees. They found a way around higher taxes here in Colorado. We have Tabor, the taxpayer Bill of Rights, which the Democrats are very busily trying to undo. By the way, it's the last defense against uh, total takeover of this state. So pay attention to Tabor, Tabor. That is your Bill of Rights as a taxpayer in this state. And if you let the Democrats take that away from us, it's going to be a really sad state. We're in bad way already in Colorado, but you want to see it get worse, get rid of Tabor and see what happens. There is a proposition coming up, a referendum called HH. I encourage you as a voter, get familiar with it. Do not buy into the lies. If that passes, you can kiss Tabor goodbye. We'll get into more of the details of that referendum in upcoming shows, and we want to help educate the public to understand what's at stake if that referendum passes. It's going to be worded in such a way that it sounds innocuous and harmless, but that's the way the Democrats work. They they fool people into thinking, oh, it's harmless, and then boom, it's just like this last election where we had a referendum that that undid a section of our laws that caused property values to skyrocket. It was warned about. People were told about it, and yet people still voted for it. And now look at your property taxes. I'm fighting ours. A lot of people out there are fighting theirs. But these Democrats are not your friend. They want your money. They want to ruin your business. They don't care about you as citizens. It's all about them and their agenda. And their leaders, a lot of them are just plain evil. I'm not going to mince any words about it. So you have to be leery. You have to be attentive. You can't take them at their word. Dig deep into whatever they tell you. Look behind the curtain. Follow the money. You will soon see that these people are after our money. They're after control. They're all about control. It's not about freedom for them. The more control and power they can garner, the happier they are. And that's the kind of people we've been electing. And I think it's time that we start electing people that care about you and me as citizens and stop feeding the ravenous hippopotamus that is never satisfied. They just want to eat, 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 get bigger, bigger, and bigger. Our national debt is through the roof. Our state is under attack. Our schools are under attack. In particular, we had a show recently that exposed the new SEL agenda, which is what is taken over or replaced the CRT, critical race theory, because that had become a really dirty acronym for the left. And so they just switched gears and changed it to SEL. So it's all about controlling your children. It's all about brainwashing and indoctrination. You might be sitting there thinking right now, well, this guy is a little bit out there. Trust me when I tell you, everything I'm saying is 100% factual. All it takes is for you to take the time to dig into it and learn about it yourself. Don't take my word for it. I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you to be vigilant and to educate yourself and inform yourself so that you become a better voter the next time around. Uh, Talk to the candidates. Ask them hard questions. Don't let them skirt around the hard questions. If someone refuses to answer a hard question, that should be a huge red flag. Uh, it, a politician should never shy away from answering the questions of the citizens they're going to serve or allegedly going to serve. So be conscious, uh, be alert, inform yourself. I understand not everybody is a political activist. Not everybody is a political junkie, but you can do enough as a citizen to inform yourself without necessarily being one of those two things. Just be informed. That's all I'm asking. Go to your caucus, attend the events that affect your life. Don't let someone else take control and leave you in the dust. And then when something hits you, it's too late. Don't be that guy. Don't be that person. Just trust me when I tell you there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you need to be aware of. We have to be uh, leery of every politician, Republican or Democrat. Don't don't trust any of them. Do your due diligence, get informed, and you will find out what it is you want to vote for. Make sure you know what your values are. Uh, our faith is under attack. Our schools are under attack. Our nation's history and apparatus, a political apparatus, is under attack. The rule of law is under attack. And if you stop to think for a minute, all of those things I just described are Marxist ideology. They attack the family. That's the first thing they want to destroy. They want to destroy the nuclear family because they know that a nation with a good family unit is a hard nation to defeat. Second, they want to destroy the economy. Third, they want to hide behind green ideas to make you think that they're looking out for you. They're not. The the climate change, the global warming crowd, whatever you want to call them, it is the what do I want to say? It is the largest hoax ever perpetrated upon mankind on this planet. If you look at the roots of that movement, you will find that it is uh, defined, funded, and promoted by a cabal of one world type individuals who want to have a one world government. They don't want countries with borders. That's why America is under attack at its borders. And we have people like Joe Biden who could care less, uh, enriching himself and just basically looking the other way at our borders. 7 million people have come in illegally since Joe Biden took office, and they've been spread all over the country. How many in that group do you think are nefarious characters, people who have bad intentions? I'm not talking about all of them. There are a lot of good people that came here for reasons that they felt compelled to escape, uh, and I feel for them. But I also believe that we have to have a orderly immigration process. We can process people in, but we certainly cannot accept everybody on the planet. Our system would not be able to sustain that. Some people might say, "Oh, well, that's a quota system." Well, in a way, yes. And if you look around the world, you'll find that most industrialized nations have a quota immigration system. They don't let just anybody in. Most of the countries around the world, if you're an illegal immigrant, you can't work there, not legally. My own home country in Peru, it's a third world country. But if you're an illegal immigrant down there, you can't work and they won't let you work. So don't tell me that it can't be done. We need voter ID in this country in order to have fair and honest elections. There's absolutely no reason to not have voter ID unless you want to cheat. That's the bottom line. People who fight against voter ID are people who know and understand that if elections were fair and honest, a lot of their agenda would not be passed. A lot of the people they want elected would not get elected. So be leery of all of these things that I've talked about. We're going to be talking more in depth about a lot of these things as we move along, but I do want to encourage you to go to our website, thehispanicpatriot.com. We have a contact form on the website. I really want to hear your feedback. I want you to uh, give me information about what you feel about the show. Give me your critique. If you think I'm I'm off the wall, tell me that, but tell me why. Don't just drop on there and call me names. If you disagree with me, then disagree with me, but give me the reasons why you disagree, and let's have a conversation. I do intend to try to respond to as many as I can, but I want to reach this audience in a way that suits them and not me. Um, if you do that for me, I think we can create a much better platform here, and we'll be able to have a better interaction between you and me. Uh, as you notice, I'm flying solo this week. The next couple of weeks, my producer Peter is on vacation, enjoying himself out in California. So I sent him a hello earlier, and I hope he's having fun with his family. Uh, Next week I will be flying solo, possibly. Maybe I'll have a guest. I'm working on a couple of different options, but I think it's important that we get the word out. Help me to spread the news about this show. Uh, I want an audience. I want people who can follow, be supporters, and subscribe to the channels that we have right now, which are uh, YouTube, X, and Rumble. And then we have the shows up on our website as well as, and we're building that content. We're going to be unveiling our new logo here in the next week or so, I hope, and I think you're going to like it. It's going to be a very exciting logo, and also a very exciting platform that we can have a discussion about. So we're running down on time for the show. Um, I just want to leave you with a positive quote so that you can have a great day tomorrow. And that is, every day may not be good, but there is something good in every day. That was sent to us by Alice Morse Earl. Um, it's a good quote. It makes sense. I want to thank you for watching the show tonight. I hope that you will be take a lot of the things I said tonight to heart. I want to leave by talking about America. I want I want to let you know how much I love this country and I love all my audience. So good night and thank you for listening.